"How shall it be done, Lord King?" I ventured to ask. It seemed a reasonable question. Presumably Edward had a plan in mind. That is, unless he expected me to walk into the imperial palace, slay the emperor, and then gaily walk out again. He beckoned at young Despenser, who handed the king a silver cup full of some foul-smelling brown liquid. Even from several feet away I could smell it. I wrinkled my nose at the stench. One of Edward's cordials, mixed up by his doctors from God knows what ingredients. They were meant to restore his strength. To judge from the smell, I was amazed they didn't finish him off. The king tossed back the contents. He grimaced, as did I, and wiped his lips with a trembling hand. "You shall go to the Duke of Austria," he gasped, "and join his retinue. Everything is arranged." I had no doubt of that. As usual, Longshanks was thinking several moves ahead. He was a fine chess player, of course. The Duke of Austria had a fearsome reputation. He was known as Albert the One-Eyed, having lost an eye in battle, and said to be an appalling brute. I was not worried, even if true. The Duke was no more cruel than Longshanks or any other ruler in Christendom. At the ripe old age of 21, I had seen enough of war to know the reality. Reader, I should explain. It was a tangled web, so let me tease out the threads. My master, Edward of England, was at war with his cousin Philippe the Fair of France. Both kings had spent years recruiting the other princes and lords of Christendom until two vast coalitions were ranged against each other. On his side, Edward had the Count of Flanders, the Duke of Brabant, the Count of Bar, and the Holy Roman Emperor Adolf of Nassau. Philippe had the King of Norway, the King of Scotland, the Count of Holland, among others. Memory dims with age, and I cannot recall all the glittering names and titles. These grand alliances cost money. Vast oceans of money, until the treasuries of England and France were practically bare. What did they get for it? Very little. Edward and Philippe planned to wage the war to end all wars, to decide who should be master of the West. Instead, after a few weeks of messy fighting and marching back and forth, it fizzled out into a stalemate. Now, as the winter rains dried up in Flanders, Longshanks wanted revenge on those allies who had let him down. His main target was the German emperor. Adolf had promised to come to Edward's aid with an army of German troops. Instead, he stole the king's money and used it to wage war on his own subjects. Only a fool broke faith with Edward. Given the dreadful fate of his enemies in Britain, this should have been all too clear. I shiver to think of the tortures inflicted on the Welshman, Prince David, on a blood-stained scaffold at Shrewsbury. Perhaps news travelled slowly across the sea, or else Adolf was a fool indeed. "The Duke is raising an army," Edward went on. "He means to challenge Adolf for the imperial crown. He has my full support and the support of my allies. That German thief," he spat, baring his yellow teeth, "will soon be dead. The electors are plotting to depose him and offer the crown to Albert." "But, Lord King," I said, "in that case, why not let Adolf's enemies do the work for us? If he is not butchered on the battlefield, they will get him another way, a knife in the back, poison in his meat." It was a foolish question, and I should have known the king better. "Because vengeance is mine," he roared. "He betrayed me, made false promises, took my gold. Nobody shits on Edward of England and lives to boast of it." He leaned forward slightly in his high chair and extended one long, thin arm to jab a finger at me. I gave back a little. Edward stamped his foot like a war-horse. Dangerous fires glinted in his eyes. "You are the tool of vengeance," he thundered. "When the day of battle comes, your blade will sink into Adolf's flesh. Get to him before the damned Austrians do. Cut your way."